Have you ever been in a tough conversation and you had a hard time finding the right words to say as a leader? This is something that happens to many leaders, regardless of gender. And in this video, I want to share with you some insights that will help you next time when you have a situation where you are having a tough conversation and you're struggling to find the right words to say. So if this sounds like something that you are interested in, then you absolutely want to watch this live video until the very end, because I'm going to share with you over 20 years worth of experience that will help you to fast track yourself as a leader. Now, on this channel, I focus more so on women in leadership, but I have a lot of attendees and subscribers that are in different audiences. And so I welcome you all as well. I'm glad that you're here. I'm here to help you on your journey. And I know if you're following me or subscribed to my channel, then you're incredibly passionate about how you are communicating as a leader. So I want to start this off by saying that you're going to learn some of the reasons why people struggle with finding the right words to say. And then you're also going to learn a few strategies that can help you find those right words to say. Before I go into this video, I do want to preface this by saying that this is a live video. So if you're watching this video right now, you're watching the replay. And there's a point in time where people join the live. So give me a few moments so I can greet everyone, and then we'll get right into those topics to help you find those right words to say. I do want to give a shout out to Yogesh. He is on my Instagram and LinkedIn and hopefully YouTube also. He actually mentioned that this is a good topic that he wanted to learn more about. So I want to give him a shout out. He does a lot of video editing also. So if you're interested in getting some of your videos edited, then reach out to me and I can give you his contact information. But thank you, guys, for voting. Now, I want to start off by saying that most of the time people do not know or have a hard time finding the right words to say for what I've found over my past 20 years as a C-suite executive, a manager, and a director comes down to really three reasons. The first reason typically is that people are overwhelmed. And when you are overwhelmed in your mind, you are not able to think clearly in terms of what specifically it is that you need to say in these hard conversations. Now, I've talked about the first one, but I want to say hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today, and I appreciate you being here. If you want to learn how to say and find the right words to say, especially when you have those tough conversations, this is the place for you to be on this live today. Feel free to ask me any questions as you wish as it relates to how to find those right words to say. If you like this information so far, I talk about communicating at that higher level on my channel. So feel free to subscribe so that you can go to that next level in your journey as a leader. So if you have any questions, let me know. Feel free to let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. So the first reason I mentioned that a lot of people have a hard time finding the right words to say is because they are overwhelmed. They are very overwhelmed with what is going on, and it makes it difficult for them to figure out what specifically it is that they want to talk about because there's just so much going on in their mind. Before I go into the second reason, let me say hello, Yugnisha. Hello, welcome. Glad you're here. Sophia, hello, welcome. Sophia said, I love your pearl necklaces. Well, thank you, Sophia. I appreciate you. So if you have any questions as it relates to hard conversations and find the right words to say, let me know. This is going to be a pretty brief live today, so let me know if you have any questions. And if you like the content so far, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I have a lot of great information here as it relates to navigating those challenging situations. And let me know where you're joining from in this big, beautiful world today. So we talked about the first reason why people tend to not know or have a hard time finding the right words to say, and that is because they are overwhelmed. There is too much that they're processing, too much in their mind, and they're not sure how to condense it in such a way to where they can organize their thoughts to think. The second reason why people tend to have a hard time finding those right words to say is that there's a certain aspect of this conversation that they're having that they don't have control over. Now, I tell a lot of my clients that I work with is when you have those hard or tough conversations coming up, there's certain things that may be out of your control, but there's some things that are in your control. And the items that are in your control always are the way that you respond in the way that you think. And when you're in those hard conversations, keep those two things in mind, because this is really important to you when you're having those very tough conversations. Now, before I go into the third one, let me see who else joined today. Hello, Intro BA. Hello, welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well today. Let me know where you're joining from in the world today. I'd be happy to say hello to you from wherever you are joining from on the live today. So we talked about two reasons why people have a hard time finding those right words to say. So the first was people are just overwhelmed. There's just too much in their mind, and they are not taking the time to really organize their thoughts to figure out what specifically they want to say. The second reason why people have a hard time finding the right words to say in tough conversations is that there is a certain aspect of this conversation that they just can't control. So I tell my clients to find what you can control, and the things that you can control are how you respond, and you can also control your thoughts and how you perceive things. The third reason why people have a hard time finding those right words to say is that they have not been trained in terms of how to have these very tough conversations. So a lot of times it's very, very difficult if you have not received that training, that guidance to know how do you manage hard conversations. So this is the reason why this is a fantastic time to subscribe to the channel. If you want to learn how to navigate these very challenging and delicate situations as a leader, whether you are a woman in leadership or a man in leadership, I focus on women on this channel, but I'm here to say hello to all of you. Then subscribe. Ask me any questions you want to ask me as it relates to this topic. And before I go into the strategies as to how you can overcome these challenges, let me say hello to those who have just joined us. Okay, we have Santo Cristo from Brazil. Okay, fantastic. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being here, and glad you're here. If you have any questions specifically as it relates to having these hard conversations and find the right words, then let me know. I'm here to answer your questions and support you any way I can on your journey to amazing leadership. Okay, Sophia has a question. Sophia said, thank you for the information. Sometimes I have trouble with what to say, so this helps. Yes, Sophia, this happens a lot. And so I've found that it really does come down to those three things why people struggle with what to say in hard conversations. And for those of you who just joined, the three reasons why people really struggle with saying the right words is that there's three things that are going on. One is that they are in a place where they're just overwhelmed. There's too much going on in their head. They can't really think things through, and they don't know the right words to say. Second is that there's a certain part of control of the conversation that they just don't have. And so I tell my clients to make sure they control how they respond and control how they think. That's the only thing you can bring control to. There's certain aspects of the conversation that maybe you don't have control over, but you have to focus on what you can control. You can control yourself. And the third is that you're just not trained to do it, which is the reason why you're watching this video, and hopefully subscribe to the channel. Now let's go into some strategies in terms of what can you do? How can you find these right words to say when you're in these very tough conversations? Are you ready? Here we go. The first strategy that I tell my clients to do in a one-on-one setting is to think about what it is you want to say. Majority of the time, we have an idea as leaders that we are going to be having a hard conversation. Sometimes we may be caught off guard, and if you have been caught off guard, check out my video. I have a live that is specifically caught off guard. It's actually one of my live videos that has the most views on my channel. So it's a pretty good video. I would definitely take a look at it to prepare yourself to be not caught off guard. So I'm not going to go into that today, but I do want to say sometimes we kind of know we're going to have a hard conversation. So if you know you're going to have a hard conversation, then take a few moments to organize your thoughts. Think about what is the most important thing, topic, discussion, subject that you need to talk about in this hard or challenging situation. Because what happens in these situations is that people, they go overwhelmed. As I mentioned, there's just too much going on in their head. But if you take a moment to just bring things down, then you can say, okay, I know I have like 5 things I'm thinking about for this conversation, but the most important thing I need to focus on in this conversation is this. whatever this is. So let me know in the comments below, have you ever been in a hard and a tough conversation? I know Sophia mentioned that sometimes it's tough kind of figuring out what to say. Let me know if any of you have had any hard conversations where you just didn't know what to say, and I'll help you figure out what to say. So we talked about how a lot of times you need to have those quiet moments to think about what it is that you really need to say. Most of the time, people, when they go into these hard conversations, they're so overwhelmed that they don't even take the time to think. But if you're watching this live in this video, then I'm giving you these secrets, these tools that I've been using for over the past 20 years as a C-suite executive, as a director, as a manager, to help you be that person that communicates at a higher level than your peers and other leaders in your organization or your business. So taking that quiet time to think about what specifically it is that you need to talk about is critically important when you're having that those tough conversations. And this is the reason why this is how you can start to develop what to say. Now, we're going to go into the next part of how to say the right words, or how to find the right words to say in those tough conversations. Are you ready? Now, the second thing that you can do, this is another strategy, is that you will want to observe the person you are speaking to. I talk about this on my channel, and if you have watched my channel for any length of time, you know this is a big one for me. Many leaders forget this, and they do not observe the people they're speaking with. And so when you're thinking about, you're in a conversation, you know it's tough, and you just don't know what to say, watch the other person. See how they're responding. Take a look at their body language. Do they look like they're receiving what you are saying well? Or do they look like they're frowning? Or they're maybe turning their head? Or maybe they are rolling their eyes? Or maybe they are scrolling on their phone? Or maybe they've turned their head? It's very important to observe what the person is doing, because if you watch very closely in terms of how they are responding to you, this will help you to determine the right words to say. Because you can't say the right words if you don't know how the other person is responding. And this is something I teach my clients in a one-on-one session, and also the Real Executive Woman, the leadership program I have. We really focus on how to read people and really pick up on what are some of those things, situations, or nonverbal gestures that people actually do that give away what they're thinking. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, then feel free to leave me a comment below. Let me know, and we'll set up some time to have a call. And there's a call button to schedule a free call in my description. So we talked about 2 strategies so far. So 1, plan ahead. Think about what it is about. Narrow it down to the number one most important thing you need to talk about. Number 2, then we need to think about what specifically we need to do as it relates to this conversation, in terms of how we can figure out what the other person's thinking. This is where observation comes into play. Now, Sophia has a question. So question, in tough conversations, is it good to avoid saying things repeatedly? Yes, it is. And it just depends on the conversation that you're having. It is good to not say things repeatedly. Thank you for asking that question. It's a great question. So yes, you don't want to say things repeatedly over and over and over again, because the person will start to become numb to what you're saying. What I mean specifically by becoming numb is that they will hear you, but there comes a point where they stop hearing you because you've said it over and over and over and over again. So think about a conversation that you've had maybe as a leader in the past, and someone has told you something 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. You kind of get annoyed by it. The only time I personally recommend to over communicate is when you're in the middle of a big task. That is where over communication is very helpful, where you may have to repeat certain things. There is a chef, Gordon Ramsay, I know he talks about this outside of some of the things he does, which is odd, but he's very big on operations, and sometimes in the middle and the thick of things, you need to communicate and over communicate. But when you're having a tough conversations, repeating the same thing is something I would recommend not to do, because the person will stop listening at some point. Now, the last strategy that I want to share with you that you can do in this particular situation is, we've talked about planning ahead, we've talked about observing, and the third is to figure out what should you say. Now, I always tell my clients, when you're trying to figure out the right words to say, always err on the side of being over professional than being under professional. So you might be wondering, what do I mean specifically by that? What I mean specifically is that you should put yourself as that executive and start developing your executive presence. This is what my channel is all about, developing yourself as leaders. But you want to be that person that communicates at a very high level, regardless of if the other person is not. And so a way for you to do this is to always be polite. Be very polite to the person, be very cordial to them, and speak in a very positive, forward-thinking tone. When you're having very hard conversations, what happens a lot of times in those very difficult situations that come up is that people kind of come at it where they want to just talk and they want to just say, okay, this is the problem, this is the situation, this is how we're going to fix it. But if you come at it in a way to where you're a bit more like a leader, what's going on? How can I help you? Then it comes across in a way to where you actually care. Even though you're having a hard conversation, you still care about what is actually being said. So this is very important. Make sure you're speaking in that very high level, very professional tone. I would discourage you from being too lax in those hard conversations because sometimes it happens. Sometimes you may need to use humor, just depending on the conversation, to lighten the mood. But ultimately, be that person that's communicating at that higher level. And you do that by being very polite and being very positive and forward thinking. When you're having a hard conversation, don't always think the negative. Like, oh, this person just keeps messing up this task. They can't do it right. They can't do this. They can't do that. Well, let's think about what can they do right. And let's maybe have that at the forefront of our mind instead, so that we can find the right words to say to them, even if it's going to be a tough conversation. Now, I want to take a look at the chat really quickly. Sophia said, thanks for the info. You are so very welcome, Sophia. Absolutely. Truth is speaking. Welcome back. Hello, hello. Glad to see you here again. All right. Awesome. Well, this has been a very quick live. This is one of my shorter lives, I would say. But we went over several strategies really quickly for those of you who have just joined. We talked about the reasons why people have a hard time finding the right words to say. So we talked about it a bit more in the live, so definitely watch the replay, but I'll go over them very quickly for you. The reasons why people have a hard time finding the right words to say typically is there's three scenarios going on. The first is that they're just completely overwhelmed. They don't know what to say. There's too much going on in their mind, and they're not able to condense and process everything, so they don't know what to say. They don't know the right words to say. Second is that there's a certain part of the conversation that they don't have control over. So I tell my clients to find out what it is that you can control, and the things that you can control is how you respond and how you think. You have to do that. There has to be something you have to gain control under. And then the third is that they haven't been trained how to have those hard conversations, which is why you're watching this channel and hopefully subscribe to my channel at this point. And we did share a couple of strategies as to how you can start finding the right words to say. And the best way to find the right words to say is to first plan ahead. Take a few moments and think about what it is you need to say. If you know you're having a hard conversation, which most of the time you probably do, then you can plan out at least the number one most important thing you need to talk about in that conversation and make that the main focus. That will help you to organize your thoughts. Second is to observe what is being said. Make sure you're observing what is being said and not being said. So observe, see what's going on, and notice and pay very close attention to the person's body gestures and their body language. What are they doing? So watch the replay. We talked a bit more about that. And then finally, we talked about how you need to communicate at that higher level and always be more professional than you need to be for a conversation, because that will showcase you as being the expert and as the leader that the person is going to be more receptive to having those hard conversations with. So I hope this information has been helpful to you all. I appreciate you all so much for joining me live today. It's always nice to see individuals come back. So welcome, welcome. If you have any topics specifically that you want me to talk more about that will help you to elevate your leadership skills and how you're communicating and how you can advance in your career, particularly as a woman in leadership. But if you're not a woman in leadership, I welcome your comments as well. feel free to put them in any of my videos, comments. I will do a video just for you. This video I did today was for Yogesh, and I talked about him at the very beginning of the video. But I do videos like this for my audience all the time. So if you have something specific, I will absolutely give you a shout out, and we'll go into the topic, and I will give you everything that I have and that I've learned over the past 20 years in the manager role that I have been in as a C-suite executive, a manager and director. And I've dealt with very friendly and very, very contentious situations. So learn from my over 20 years of experience. It will fast track you on your journey, and you will be at that next level, at that very high level in terms of how you communicate with your peers. So let me know what you want to learn about. I'm here to support you on your journey. And if you have not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Feel free to subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of great information I have here. Don't forget to check out the video I have Think on Your Feet. We talked about that earlier in the video, so that you're not caught off guard. But that's a really good video to watch to help you to start thinking on your feet. More than likely, I'm going to go into that video a bit more in detail. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the next live, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for being with me today. I appreciate you more than you will ever know, and I will see you all tomorrow on the next live. Bye for now. And bye, Sophia. Have a good day. Thank you so much.